Hello, my name is Jennifer Shlomovich, and I am a vegan confidence coach. I specialize in helping vegans who live with non-vegans confidently be themselves and navigate the challenges of having a lifestyle different from the people around them. Here on my channel, The Confident Vegan, I share content on Tuesdays for Topic Tuesday, where I interview guests and share other personal development topics. On Fridays, I have Food Friday, where I share recipes and other food-related content. Today, I'm going to be discussing eating a whole food, plant-based diet with my special guest, Alyssa Nicole, the woman behind Living Blyss, LLC. Alyssa is a coach, entrepreneur, and yoga enthusiast. Alyssa's journey began about a year before she graduated from college when she felt the sudden urge to live healthier. She watched many people who she loved fall victim to diet and lifestyle-based diseases. Alyssa's goal is to break the cycle. Through her personal journey, she has learned nutrition concepts, expanded her knowledge about health and wellness, and gained an overall sense of well-being. Health Accelerator is her program designed to help you eat healthier by breaking through barriers that keep you from being your best self. Today, we're going to discuss tips for making healthy lifestyle changes, as well as tips for how to live a lifestyle different from the people around you. Welcome, Alyssa.
Hi, how are you today, Jennifer?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
It is so nice to have you here today. We connected about towards the end of the last year, before the
Mhm.
new year, and we had a great conversation, getting to know one another better. And so happy to have you here today to talk with my audience.
Thank you, thank you. So
So,
excited.
yeah, me too. So, what is the difference between plant-based and vegan? I figured that was be like a good place for us to start.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a really good question and a great place to start. So I'm glad you asked it. So basically, honestly, right now, as far as like the definition, like they haven't agreed upon like a meaning for the term plant-based as of right now. So you could probably get a different meaning depending on who you talk to. But I go by a definition basically that it's a diet that consists of majority or entirely of whole plant foods. So they might limit or completely eliminate animal foods and processed foods. It just depends. So the difference in veganism, on the other hand, so that one is just a little bit different because it focuses a little bit more on animal rights. So they focus on plant eaters, they focus on the health benefits of the diet outcomes, whereas the vegans focus a little bit more on health animal rights. So the difference is a vegan might consume like processed foods like Oreos or meat substitutes as a regular part of their diet. As long as it doesn't contain animal products, they're usually fine. Whereas like somebody who has like the plant-based designation on there usually focuses their decisions on the health outcomes on themselves. So will this food produce the will this item or will this food produce the best health outcomes? What types of ingredients is it using? Things like that. A lot more thought. I don't want to say a lot more thought, but just a different motivation, a different direction, but essentially the same things, and each can be beneficial for different reasons. So
Yeah, I'm glad you brought the different definitions. I recently saw a video. Was it a video or a podcast I was listening to where it was a vegan, it was a vegan content creator, and they were talking about how there can be products out there labeled as plant-based, but they might not necessarily be vegan.
yeah,
They could
exactly.
have honey in it or other particular things. So I'm really glad to have you here to kind of dive deeper into this topic to clear up any confusion. A vegan could be whole food plant-based and completely stay away from all animal products, whereas that also involves the products that you purchase, whether it's like
Hmm.
leather or other animal products. Excuse me. Whereas someone who follows a whole food plant-based lifestyle might eat mostly whole food, mostly plant products, but they're not eating
Exactly.
processed things. And there are people who follow a whole food plant-based diet who might have fish occasionally or other
Hmm.
types of things. And so
Exactly.
I really wanted to bring this up, and again, just to kind of clarify some of those different definitions that can get confusing sometimes, where plant-based could be vegan, but it isn't necessarily all vegan. And
Exactly.
you're right. There isn't exactly, there's a lot of different, I guess, ways that it gets classified, but basically it
Yeah.
means not having something that's processed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like me as a plant-based lifestyle coach, a lot of times people automatically assume, oh, she's vegan. And while I support veganism, like I think that it's obviously it's a great lifestyle to live. So I support it. But I'm like, no, I'm not here to convert you into veganism. Not at all. That's not my goal. It's like my goal is to help you to basically learn more about yourself, learn more about your body. My goal is to help you to figure out what foods work well with you and learn how to basically transform your life into better, so you're making better choices, so you don't have to prevent disease in the long run or long term, things like that. So yeah, so a lot of times I get that mix of oh, she's gonna make me be vegan. It's like, no, no, not necessarily, not unless you want that. Just
So
want you
it
to be a
sounds
little bit
like you
healthy.
meet people where they are. If someone
Exactly.
came to you who was a vegan, who wanted to focus on eating more healthy, they could come to you whether they're vegan or
Exactly.
not. Basically, your primary focus is just helping people be more healthy with food, which
Hmm.
plants and vegetables that aren't processed there's so many health benefits in the
Exactly.
foods that we eat.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, thanks again for clarifying all of that. And what is your journey that brought you to living a plant-based lifestyle?
So my journey was a bumpy one, and that's why I love it so much, is because it's not like how they think. I feel like a lot of people assume or think when you start really anything new, it's like in your mind you're like, I'm gonna take off, and I'm gonna soar, and it's gonna be great. And it's like it almost never happens like that. But that's kind of like what our mind kind of wants us to achieve, I guess. We kind of create in our mind. So it was definitely a bumpy one. And I think it's important to point that point out about that we often think that we're gonna start and soar, because that's what kind of keeps people a lot of times in their journey from getting to the next step, or because they get to a point where they are like they come to a roadblock where they backslide, or they are like, oh, this is hard. And at that point, that's the point where if you are like, I really, one point you were like, I want this, but then it was too hard. That's the point where, it's like you keep coming to this roadblock of whatever the case. Let's talk about that. Let's figure that out. But sorry, I went on another way. But my journey has started about in 2015. So I was doing a bunch of research about curing disease. So pretty much I was dating this guy, and his mother was sick. So that's his mother was sick. But I wanted to help her. So I started to do like some research, really just wanted to see what was out there. I always had it in the back of my mind about that the world or the nature, what grew in the earth naturally, had everything that we needed to be able to live a healthier lifestyle. So that kind of sparked. I'm like, she's sick, and I think that there has to be something out there. So when I was doing my research, I came across the vegan plant-based diet. No, it wasn't the cure-all that I thought it would be. And it's like, no, it's not the cure-all. But it's the research that I was looking at and studied, I was just like, wow, it looks promising. It shows how many people have prevented heart disease, even treated diabetes, or even autoimmune diseases, even maintain disease, like manage their symptoms, things like that. Just simply living longer, feeling better, things like that. So I was like, I want to do it. So it took me about a full year to fully transition, and I was vegan. So I started off vegan for about 2 years. So I would say I was vegan for about 2 years because I didn't eat any animal products at all. So and then about after that 2 years, I started to eat animal products full time again, believe it or not. So then I didn't really like that. So I started to cut back again, and I then eventually settled on a lifestyle that was majority plant-based. So about 90 to 95 percent plants. I tend to only eat animal foods if I eat out, and I usually go for the vegetarian dish or the fish dish if there are no good vegan options, and I also will maybe do chicken as well if I decide to do step out in the animal products. And I try my best to greatly limit my intake of processed foods and animal products. Definitely not perfect. But I definitely do try to keep it back as much as possible. So that's the journey.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. I think it's a gradual process whenever we change our diet. I grew up eating animal products and your typical comfort foods.
Yeah.
And my mother died of a heart attack in 2007. And that made me like start to pay attention a little bit more about food in general.
Yeah.
Started being concerned about my health, and um started working on like cutting back on sodium and things like that. And then it was in 2014 where I started to eliminate dairy in my diet because I noticed how it was making me feel. I was
Yeah.
having skin issues and sinus
Hmm.
issues, and I decided to do an experiment. And I took a break from eating dairy for like 30 days. And I noticed
Okay.
like I realized there was ways dairy was making me feel bad that I didn't even realize it was until I eliminated it.
Yeah. What type of ways?
I just noticed it impacted my energy and again my sinuses. I was having sinus issues, and that can make you feel kind of tired and lethargic, and just this overall sense of well-being. Like I started to feel better just not having that. And then when I think I went out with a friend and we had froyo or ice cream or something, and I had it and I just started getting itchy and and so I just eliminated it for the most part, but would have it here and there occasionally.
Yeah.
But during that time when I started exploring eliminating dairy out of my diet, I was looking at recipes on Pinterest, and I discovered a lot of vegan recipes, whole food plant-based recipes. I came across Forks Over Knives, which is a very popular whole food plant-based community, and they have a famous documentary that talks about the impact our food has on our body and our health and well-being. And I just started discovering all these amazing things that you can make without feeling deprived. Like you can have delicious food and not feel deprived. And it made me like I discovered uses of seasonings and spices and
Hmm.
just amazing desserts you can make using fruits and sweet potato. Like I've made a chocolate pie using like sweet potato and
Yeah.
as if and it tastes just as good if not even better. And
Yeah.
there was this, and then I watched this video, Vegucated, which was on Netflix for a period of time that showed three people living in New York City. They went on a 6 week vegan diet. They went on they were like vegan for like 6 weeks. It was part of like an experiment for them to try,
Okay.
and it showed the
I
you know
think I did
an,
see that. It was
you,
like it was an experiment. I think I seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really good. And they showed the animal cruelty stuff, which I knew about, but then I started really thinking about it. And there was a part of me that really wanted to be vegan, but I was
Mhm.
in this place of my family's not going to want to be vegan. Like, at the time, my husband and I, we have a blended family. Our kids were younger. Nobody was going to be vegan, and um, and I was also afraid of the judgment. Like, what if we go to a friend's house or a family's house or
Yeah.
going? So I just went into this place of um, kind of just like this fear of how people were going to judge me.
Hmm.
And then more and more over time, I just kind of went on this journey of being vegetarian and being vegan, went back to vegetarian for a bit.
Yeah.
And then finally, it was like something within me it was like my soul just wanted to be vegan.
Yeah.
Found a way to make it happen, and so that's why I have this community and have this channel to create space to show others that you can live
Yeah.
a lifestyle different from the people around you. You can
Yeah.
eat in a way that feels good for you. You can, follow a lifestyle that supports your values and find a way to coexist with everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that. And I'm sorry to hear about your mom. You
Oh,
said your mom, right? Or
yeah, my mom died in
yeah.
2007, and then my father died at the end of 22 from
Yeah.
heart disease and diabetes. He had a lot of different heart stuff. So
Mhm.
diet is definitely important to me. Like
Yeah.
I like to use whole food plant-based as like a guideline for me for like
Mhm.
my day to day and try to like minimize as much. It helps me minimize oil
Yeah.
and as much processed stuff as possible. I will have a little bit.
Yeah.
I like to have vegan cheese, like I'll use a little bit of it here and there. But it helps me create my balance. It's kind of
Yeah.
like if somebody were not vegan at all, but they wanted to be healthy, and then you have your special treats. Well, for me, I try to eat healthy most of the time. Then I have my vegan treats, and so
Yeah.
it's just creating that balance for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree with that. Great.
and so, can you tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to create your business and do the work that you do?
Yes. So I'm gonna say something that sounds like an echo, like everybody says this. But I honestly feel like I was called to do this. Like I feel like I was called to help people in this lane. It's just because the way I came across it, way I came across the lifestyle and also my passion for it. Um the passion that I have for the industry. It just seems like an area that I want to continue to stay in. I'm like, wow, I'm this is where I'm supposed to be at. So it's kind of just my calling. I'm passionate about it. So, and today it's just so difficult to understand like what's true and what's not true. So I just want to be that person to kind of bridge the gap um between understanding and knowledge, because we've taken our time, we've normalized disease in our society. So we definitely need to take our time to put health into our own hands, because we're not taught nutrition in schools, unfortunately, adequate nutrition. And unfortunately, when we're not taught that, some traditions that are passed down aren't the best. So it's more important for me to help people along their journey so that we can live out our greatest desires. So that's kind of what inspires me is just it's a personal passion and just a desire to help other people live out their fullest potentials and fullest desires. We can't have the world that we want to have if if we don't help other people become better or live out their dreams or become the best version of what they see for themselves. So I don't know, it's just a passion, I guess. I don't know. That's what inspires me.
That's awesome. Yes, that's kind of I can relate to that too. Like you get this nudge where it's like you have to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you're not even sure exactly how you're doing it. You just know you're supposed to
Exactly.
help people. You sometimes don't even know how. It took me a while to kind of figure that out. For a while, I was doing confidence coaching and I was passionate about veganism and I wanted to do both. And then all of a sudden it hit me, oh, I can do both and call it
Yeah.
the confident vegan.
Yeah.
So,
So I can put it together. I
and then
can
you
put
can
it
put
all
it together. You're right.
together.
So
Yes.
I feel like it's always so rewarding when you follow the things that light you up and it's bringing you joy helping others, sharing information that can create an impact. And by you sharing a way that people can eat healthy, you're going to help them have, longevity and be able to create more memories with people and just have more energy in general to be productive because our food impacts the way we feel
Yeah.
and
And
the
something
energy.
that a lot of people don't consider a lot of times is the financial benefits of the lifestyle. A lot of people they automatically say the biggest misconception is that it's too expensive. Eating healthy is too expensive. It just kind of frustrates me because it's not. It's actually a lot cheaper. And it's like it's just the way you do it. I'm like, yeah, if you are eating processed foods, like if you eating processed foods, buying TV dinners, processed pizzas, stuff like that, and eating out, going fast food every day, yeah, it's going to be pretty expensive. But I'm like, if you want to get you some beans, it's like $1, $2, like a bag of
You
beans,
know,
and that'll feed a family. That'll feed more. That'll easily feed a family of four. Just one little bag of dry beans, or a bag of onions. How much is that? Like, you can make it. And I think people just need to I think, and that's one thing that I also kind of adjust or talk about, is those limiting beliefs. So that would be considered a limiting belief, believing that it's too expensive, because that belief keeps you from achieving the goal that you want to achieve. Some people say, I want to do it, but it's just too expensive. Well, that's a limiting so I definitely take my time with my students to teach them about limiting beliefs, and also help them to uncover theirs, so that they can then address them in a step-by-step way, so that they can then, and I love the process, because the process not only applies to this part of your life, but it can apply to other areas of your life. You can start eliminating beliefs in every area of your life. You didn't even realize, oh wow. And I think that's the thing that makes my program so special, is that a lot of the things that you learn, a lot of things that you talk, is transferable. It's not only just about what you eat. It's deeper than that. It's about respect for yourself. It's about respect for the environment and the world, and things like that. It's about um taking care of the vessel that you're in, and living out your fullest potential. I definitely think eating healthy for me is a tool to keep me, sane in this crazy world that we live in. So if I can't control many things in this world, but I can control what I put in my mouth every day. And if I can have that type of discipline to say, I'm going to choose high quality things to put in my mouth every single day, hopefully those things will transfer over into other areas of my life. And I definitely would recommend, you know, everybody to come over and say, let me prioritize my health. Let me start making good decisions. Let me start thinking about myself. So,
there's a couple things I want to say. I'm glad you brought all of that up. I once heard a while back on a podcast, and this is so true. How you do everything is how you do everything. So
hmm
for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And
hmm
even though I stopped people pleasing in other areas of my life, one of the areas that got in my way, it took some one of the an area I needed to still work on was, it was people pleasing that was part of my fear with being vegan, right? Fear of judgment, and so and as a business owner, nothing can that'll trigger people. That'll trigger all kinds of fears as a business owner
yeah.
too, and a content creator, and learning to just get out of your head about how other people are going to judge you. And so, yeah, what you were saying about limiting beliefs, those limiting beliefs that we have in our life, they show up, they're transferable in other areas of your life. So if you work on one area, it's going to have a ripple effect on other areas of your life too. That's why
Mhm.
coaching is so powerful, because you're peeling back layer by layer by layer. You're helping someone excavate, all because we have our blind spots, and coaches need
Mhm.
coaches. I remember when I went through my coaching
Exactly.
program, going through the whole process myself and learning about all these things, and we have our blind spots. And
Yeah.
when you have that experience and you know what, you've been through it yourself, you're then able to help someone else who is
hmm
having those similar struggles.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, how we do everything is how we do everything, and that kind
Mhm.
of ties in a lot with what you were just saying about the beliefs. The other thing I wanted to go back to also is what you said about, it's too expensive.
Mhm.
And it you don't have to buy the fancy processed foods out there. Like you said, a
Listen.
bag of beans. I make black bean burgers that are usually a can of low sodium black beans, some oats, some seasoning, some lime juice. You blend that up. I bake them in the oven. And now you have four, it makes like four black bean burgers for like a
And when you buy,
fraction.
yes, and when you buy black burgers from the store, how much are you paying? It's
You
like,
can
now
pay
I can
like
make,
$5 for
yeah.
just that, but you're actually getting more because a can of black beans is what, like $1.50. If you make it
Yeah.
from a bag of beans, then you could totally stretch it. I've
Hmm.
made lentil meatballs. I've made lentil loaf a lot. I've made sloppy joes out of lentils. Like
Hmm.
you can look at your beans and legumes as what you'd use as meat. And you
Right.
anything that you make, you can, experiment, swap it out, see what it'd be like to have lentil meatballs instead and you put
Exactly.
tomato sauce on it, it's going to taste like a meatball, right?
Yeah,
And you're getting something,
exactly.
lentils have a lot of nutrients in them, and so there's a lot of benefits on it. And so yeah, you can, it's not that expensive if you do proper planning. I usually make a soup and a salad and all those things. And,
Yeah.
and when you're eating mostly fruits and vegetables, and there's ways to save money on that too. You can go to
Hmm.
Aldi's, you can go to Trader Joe's, you can go to a farmer's market.
Hmm.
There's ways to to strategically shop.
Yeah.
And because you're taking care of your health, that also saves money. Because if
Hmm.
you need,
Ooh,
right? Because
down the line when if you decide to get those medical bills start coming,
right, right.
not
Because
pretty.
if diabetes, heart
Mhm.
disease, cancer,
Yeah.
um, any other issue that, any type of health issue that someone can have, having a
Yeah.
stroke, all these different things, um, a lot of them are diet and exercise related. Not all of them. Some of them there's
A
other
lot of them.
factors
Yeah.
too. But whatever, we can only focus on the things we have control over.
Exactly.
We have control over what we put in our bodies. And medicine and doctor procedures, um, if, trying to take better care of ourselves, not having those expenses down the line can be a huge saver as well. So there's that
Yeah.
overall cost.
Yeah. So like how you lost your mother to the disease, I've also my grandmother, she lived with diabetes and she also had heart disease as well. And I just hated watching the ending of her life. And I just was like, I just don't wish that up on anybody. And when I realized that the way she went out and the way a lot of people go out is like something that we don't have to do. I'm like, the amount of pills that this woman had to take, how many times she went under surgery to get stents taken out of her, get stents put in her heart to open up her pathways. And
Mhm.
it's almost like, and it's interesting because I'm like, if she could have allowed herself or opened her mind up enough to accept the healthier lifestyle, she could have, cleared out those arteries or those pathways naturally through just lowering, consuming more plant-based things that help products that help clear it out, and lowering her intake of cholesterol and saturated fat, which comes from, mostly beef, animal products and things like that, and also lower sodium. That's just our diets. That's our lifestyle here. Like, and I don't know how it fully developed this way. I mean, we have our theories, but unfortunately, this is the society we live in, and we gotta like I think a lot of the information that we've had funneled down from us is just like I said, regurgitated information from people from the past. And now that we have more information on our hands, it's like we got to make better decisions for ourselves. Our parents, our grandparents, they did the best that they could with the information that they had, with the resources that they had. And now we have other resources, so we got to do better. But I think that's the biggest thing for me is like heart disease, diabetes. Like nobody has to go through that. But yeah, I should have said I don't know. I should have said my grandma inspired me because that's really what it is, to be honest. Like my grandmother, because I hated that, and she was everything, and I hated it. So and experiencing that, I was like it definitely sent me more because I was like she didn't have to go through that, and if she knew more, um, you know she probably didn't have to. She wouldn't have had to. So, um, we'll see. But I don't like to speak in definites because again, like outliers, because there might be a instance where somebody still has a lifestyle and they still end up with, you know, one of the heart disease, diabetes, or one of the diet related diseases. So I don't want to sit up here, or I also don't want to make people feel like it's their fault that they got was diagnosed or received a certain type, because again, everybody's doing the best that they can with the information that we can. It's not your fault. We just do what we know. This is what I know. Like I said, like you spoke a little bit about your past and how you were growing up, and I was similar. Like I was like everybody else. Like I was a heavy animal eater, a meat eater. I loved everything. I was it's probably a little bit of a glutton, to be honest, because I loved I love to eat. And so you wouldn't have thought, like, if you knew me, like every time I went to Six Flags, I have a picture on my mom's wall with me with a big turkey leg. Like turkey leg is bigger than my head, and I'm just like chowing down. And but that was, and I still embrace those memories, and because they keep me, that's who I was. And um I laugh. It's like, it's funny. It's so funny because I would have never saw myself making the choices that I'm making today. But it just shows you that it's a simple decision, or you can change. Like, you can do it. So if you don't feel like it, if you're coming across a bunch of obstacles, if you keep hitting a wall, if you're like, I tried this several times, I've done every different type of diet, I'm trying to reach this goal, it's like, that's when you're like, I need a professional, somebody who's done this, somebody who has experience, somebody who has a system, who can get me to that point. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, listen, things can still happen, and no one should feel like they're at fault about it, but by sharing information that we know that can help improve someone making better choices, that can help prevent things, that's the intention that we have in doing the work that we do, is whatever we can do, whatever we can share that can have an impact. That's what we do. And the best thing to do is, if you're someone who has concerns, go start with a doctor. Like, I always go and get my blood work every year to monitor things. It's so important to stay on top of all of those different things. Make that time, prioritize yourself. I know,
Hmm.
especially women and moms especially get so busy, especially with young kids, where you
Hmm.
don't want to prioritize yourself because you're so busy taking care of everybody else.
Yeah.
But when you're flying on a plane, they say you're supposed to put your mask on first before you can help somebody else. And
Yeah.
if you want to be a mom if you want to be able to keep up with your family, you got to make sure you stay on top of those doctor's appointments. And
Hmm.
and yeah, I know sometimes people just don't want to know. It's that ignorance is bliss feeling, but the sooner you know about something, and it can get caught, and when you're consistent every year, you know what your baseline health is. So this way, if you're going every year, if something was good one year and then something spiked differently, at least you're catching it early enough. So I think it's really important, whatever your diet choices are, to just make sure that you're going to your doctor's appointments every year, getting everything checked and
Yeah.
monitored, because that in itself is a very important first step in taking care of your health, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. I have a question. So you talked about finding a doctor. Has it been hard finding a doctor who supports your lifestyle? So I know a lot of doctors don't necessarily support it. I know, I one time asked the doctor to get my blood test done, and he just did not want to do it. And I don't know, it was just really weird. It was weird. I was like,
Well,
what?
you know what? I say, if you're not happy with a doctor, you switch doctors. Like, I've been fortunate where the doctor I've been with for a long time, and they, like, when I switched to vegan, I told them, and they were fine. Like, they just did all the checks that they normally did, and everything was fine. I wasn't like iron deficient or anything like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, if there's something that feels weird with your doctor and it just doesn't feel right to you,
Yeah.
there's so many doctors out there. So
Find another one.
find another,
Get you another one.
exactly. And I'm glad you brought
Mhm.
that up, because
Yeah.
we all have to be our own advocates for our health,
Hmm.
and we all have to advocate for ourselves. And sometimes doctors are not a good fit.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to find another doctor, and
Hmm.
find someone who meets your needs and is going to support you the way that you need to be supported.
Yeah.
There's no one size fits all doctor, just like
Yeah.
there's no one size fits all diet or one size fits all doing anything.
Exactly.
It's about doing what feels right for you. And so, what are some tips that you have for people who want to live a lifestyle different from others?
Okay. So I would say the first thing to do is to start with learning as much as you can. So, and just don't be biased. Because when you get more information out there, just be open to both sides of the argument or all sides of the argument. Because I think a lot of times when we want a certain answer, we don't want to look at the other side or like, no, this is it, you know? So just be open to the information. I always say an informed decision is a good decision. I don't like when people, especially in the lifestyle, a lot of people will tell me, I could never stop eating meat or I could never do that. And it's like, well, you can't because you believe that you can't. And I'd rather you tell me you can't after you've done the research or if you tried or you, because then you can say you really can't because you've actually, shown. Versus you just saying you can't and you have no information, you think it's, or I just dislike things like that. But also another thing is just don't be afraid to ask for help. And so there are so many resources out there to help you along your journey, from, I think you mentioned this earlier, just the recipes online, because I know you talked about your how you used Pinterest a lot of times to find recipes. YouTubers, I mean, there are so many YouTubers who are out there who are promoting a lifestyle. They're showing you the things that they're doing. They're giving you information, great resources, books, cookbooks. It's just so much information out there, so use it to your advantage. I mean, if it's free, it's free. And then you have coaches like me, like you, Jennifer. So we like help you. We can help you, or coaches that can help you to sort through and make sense of the load of information that's out there, because it can get scrambled. It can be a lot at times. And if you find yourself at that point, because let's be honest, um one thing that I've learned in life is that everyone is fully capable of doing anything. However, there are some obstacles that can get in the way that make it difficult for you to reach your goals. So we have to remove those blockages from your path, so that you can start your plant-based journey and never quit. And I do think self-education is a good way to do it, because I self-educated. Um, but I just know that, like, I just took biology not too long ago and I took it online, and I was like, yeah, I cannot self-teach myself biology. I need to sit with a teacher in a classroom and I need to be taught it. And you just have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. So my biggest tips will be just to keep learning, continue to educate yourself. And if you get stuck, ask for help.
Those are great tips. Yeah, I think support is so crucial in anything you want to do, especially when you feel like you don't have a community, which is the work I'm doing, the work you're doing. Um, Another great resource is like if you go to Meetup on meetup.com, you can go look up your city, look up your location,
I
find
love meetup.
out. Yeah, me too. It's great. And there's a lot of virtual ones too. After the pandemic happened, so there's a lot of virtual ways of connecting with people in person. Also, Eventbrite has events that are both in person and virtually. So you can find people, whether it's whatever lifestyle, even a hobby, just
Mhm.
connecting with like-minded people can help. And just to kind of add more to learning different points of view, it's accepting that not everyone's going to understand and support your point of view. And so it's just that mutual respect where you're going to do you and someone else can do
Mhm.
them. and
Yeah.
and finding that way to coexist
Yeah.
differently. Like for me, with my family being a vegan and a non-vegan, I cook non-vegan food for my family. We've reduced a lot of non-vegan products in our house. We buy just a little bit, not much. So I feel like for me, because it started off for health reasons and then it became ethical. For me, like, how can I make this work for me and in my life? And that's what I did. And by by doing that, it's helped reduce our household animal products,
Yeah.
which I feel is an important thing in itself. And it changes a gradual process. And so finding community, educating ourselves. One of my favorite quotes I heard somewhere is knowledge conquers fear. The more
Yeah.
knowledge you have about something, you'll be able to conquer that fear. You'll be able to stand in your power, whatever it
Yeah.
is, because you have
And so
knowledge.
it's work.
You'll know what
Yeah.
you're about. You'll know what
Yeah.
resonates for you and what doesn't. I get all the, I get, as a vegan, you get questions all the time about protein and comments about protein. I had a relative at a family function last year. He's like, "You're vegan? What do you do for protein?" And I told him, and he's like, "That's not real protein." And, you know, but it's okay. It doesn't bother me. Like, everyone
Yeah.
has the right to what they believe, and I have my beliefs. And so it's
Yeah.
finding that way to do you, let other people do them,
Yeah.
and figure out what your boundaries are. I think boundary, that's a big part
Oh,
of the
yeah,
work
that's a
that
big
I do
one.
with my clients, is boundaries, and being able to speak your truth, and make sure you're supporting your feelings and not neglecting yourself.
Yeah.
And as a vegan, what are my boundaries as a vegan? I had to figure that out. Where do I have to have certain things in place that work for me? And it's a
Yeah.
gradual process. And
Yeah, definitely.
so, yeah. And so,
It could be very, yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, it could just be like really difficult, just to live differently than the others around you. So another tip I would also give is to, just think you were alluding to this, is to encourage you to always do what's right for you, no matter what the other people around you think about it. So especially if you don't have much support from your friends and family, along the journey, you will have to make plenty of adjustments to your habits and routines. You have to start doing things like eating before you go to events that you normally just go and eat at. You'll have to ask your friends to consider your lifestyle when making plans. So if you're going out to eat, you'll have to say, hey, can we eat somewhere where everyone can have something that you can enjoy? Everything. You'll become a reading the ingredients list on packages will be like second nature. So it'll be a lot. And like you were talking about a little bit like about relationships and how that person, they always ask you the crazy questions, how much protein are you getting, or something like that. I think I heard a lot, you eating that rabbit food, whatever the case may be. You need to eat you a real meal. You just be like, okay. So getting like your family and your friends on board is the biggest obstacle. So, and even more nuanced, like you said, if they live with you, because you tend to do the things that the people around you do. So that dynamic can be difficult, but patience is always key in those. But like you said, the great thing about it, you have those groups like Meetup and Eventbrite, Facebook, Facebook groups, just things like that, where you can meet people with like minds, and then also just trying new foods and expanding your palate. So keeping yourself open and expanding things. So I think I agree with all of that, like that you were saying about just people when you live differently, and especially, and I feel like my personal experience of living differently, living in the lifestyle wasn't the greatest when I got in. So especially I had a lot of friction with family about it. It wasn't like I didn't like family wasn't they weren't wanting to make meals for me, and I thought that's what was going to happen. Like my family on Thanksgiving was going to have a pot of greens that didn't have turkey in, and they're going to do, and they're like, no, I had to make my own food and cook before and go to the, like, they weren't going to accommodate me, and I had to deal with that. I had to deal with the fact that, I had like all of those changes. I had to hear the crazy comments. Like I said, patience, 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 and also educate if they want to be educated. And I got teased about it. People are, everything. But you just have to understand that people do things, they don't all the way know why they do them, but stick to your guns, know that you made the right decision for yourself, and keep going in it no matter what. So be
yeah,
easy.
absolutely. When you're secure within yourself, the things that other people say aren't, they could be annoying, but they're not going to have the same teeth on you. It's not going to be as like triggering when you're secure within yourself. And one thing that's been a big lesson for me in life over the years is our triggers are our teachers. So whenever I get triggered
Mhm.
about something, I used to feel, and most of us feel, oh, this person did blink to me. This person
Yeah.
upset me. But, and maybe someone did do something disrespectful, which not justifying that at all. But when we feel triggered about something, that means there's something with us too, right? Like what's going on with
I
us?
need to
Something, this
unpack.
reminds us of something, that there's some unhealed wound within us that's probably tied in with a belief, what you had brought up earlier. So
Mhm.
triggers are our teachers. And so whenever I get triggered about something, that means, oh, there's something unhealed. That means there's a wound that I need to now take a look at. and
Yeah.
and sometimes that's involved a therapist, depending on how bad the wound has been in my life. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's been a coach, sometimes it's been both,
Yeah.
sometimes it's been a self-help book or a podcast,
Yeah.
so, or my journal. I'm a huge journaler, so
Yeah. Same.
um yeah, all of those different things. So I'm really enjoying our conversation. It's been
Yeah.
so great
Same.
having you here.
I can talk forever.
Yeah, me too. For sure. um Before we wrap up, what are some resources you would like to share with those who are watching right now?
Okay. So, I really like How Not to Die by Michael Greger. I feel like that's classic. I don't know. I guess you call it a classic. But also would recommend a good old textbook. Just a good old textbook about nutrition. Like the textbooks that you get in school, like the hardbacks. I think a lot of people don't understand a lot of times when you want to learn a new concept, especially if you want to really dive into understanding it, going back to the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
Get you a tech. You can go to a thrift store and find a old school textbook.
Oh, wow.
And what you have to understand is that nutrition information, a lot of these things change very slightly over the years. So you can get an older book, an older textbook or something like that and start reading about just different nutrition topics or whatever the case may be throughout the book. And you can still get some up-to-date quality information. So things don't change dramatically. So you don't have to worry about it being too out of date if it's a little bit old. Um, and they might have some information in there that might surprise you when you compare it to the information they're sharing today. So it might be like, whoa, why was they sharing that then and they sharing, whatever the case may be. So definitely just flat out textbook. Also, I would recommend the 2020 and the 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans. Read that. I mean, they pretty much say it in there. Eat more vegetables. Heart disease is caused by saturated fat. Where does saturated fat come from? Animal products. It's not found in plants. So read it. Read the U.S. dietary guidelines for Americans. That is what the U.S. is suggesting for you to do. Do I agree with everything that they suggest? Not necessarily, but just understanding that's a basic understanding of what at least our government says that we should be eating, and a great foundation and starting point to build upon. Also a great person who God rest his soul, who has spread a lot of positivity, shed a lot of light on the community. His name is Dr. Sabi. He is a person who has um a record of curing diseases using a plant-based lifestyle, plant-based vegan lifestyle. He has his own regimen. I would definitely research him, his journey, his information. He's an herbalist, things like that. And he a lot of what I know now has stemmed from his research, his teachings, things like that. So definitely look up Dr. Sebi, Sebi. And also I just really want to get into I just want to just get into the really fundamentals of health and nutrition, like and then also some people on YouTube that I really love is I really love Returner. So this is going to be, I don't know if you have a sensory, but she owns a brand. It's called For the Healthy Hoes. So she's a little bit graphic, so if that's your, she's not actually graphic at all, that's just her brand name, is For the Healthy
Sounds
Hoes.
like
When you
she uses
actually,
humor. It sounds like she's using
yes,
humor.
exactly. She utilizes humor. But she's, when you research, look at her page, she's very, very heavily spiritual based. And I love it. Also, Shakayla Felice is a good one as well. She posts a lot of like eat with me's, stuff like that. I really love Hot for Food. I love Sweet Potato Soul. But those are just a few people that I really enjoy watching. So those are my resources.
Thank you for sharing. Do you mind sending me the links for those so I can put all of the
Oh,
links in the note? Because I love putting all the links for all the resources my guests share. This way, anyone's watching, they can just go down the notes and find
yeah,
them easily. And yeah,
definitely.
those are all great. It's interesting. I keep seeing people recommending the How Not to Die book. You're
Yeah,
mentioning it. Someone else mentioned it to me a few weeks
get it,
ago. I saw it pop up somewhere else. So it's definitely on my list of
get it. Yes.
reads. And yeah, and I'm just going to add, I'm going to include the forks over knives. I'm always promoting forks over knives
Oh
because
yeah.
it was very big in me just um, making some modifications in how I eat. So I'm just
Hmm.
going to throw that resource down there too for
Okay,
everyone
that's a good one. I like
watching.
forks over knives.
Yeah, they're great. They have like a lot of great recipes on it. I get their
Yeah,
magazines sometimes too.
yeah.
But yeah, it's all great. Well, thank you again for
Thank you.
coming on here today, Alyssa. It's been so great chatting with you. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me at Coach Alyssa underscore Nicole. You can also follow me on Facebook at Coach Alyssa Nicole. You can follow me on Instagram at Living Blyss. It's BLYSS. Also on Facebook at Living Blyss, BLYSS. Yeah, that's pretty much how you can get in contact with me. And then from there you can know more about things as well. You can go to my website, sign up for my email list so you can know when I'm having events. I host virtual events. So if you're not in where I'm at, you can attend no matter where you're, situated or whatever. So follow me, keeping in touch with me will get you in touch with my email list, and or just in touch and know what's going on with me, so that you can definitely attend those events. And again, my website is www.livingbliss.com, BLYSS. So,
Great. Thank you. And if you send me the links for all those, I'll also put those down there so you can follow Alyssa and connect with her also. Well, it was so great having you on here.
thank
Thanks
you.
again for stopping by, and thank you for everyone who's